There we go. Let's see if we're okay. Obviously checking my phone. Yeah, all right, we're live.
Let's see if
We're live. All right. So this is week 3. I have slightly more prep than I did last week, but slight slightly more, but of course, I put my glasses down. I don't know where, and now I'm gonna have to look at my notes through beer goggles. But welcome back to what are we watching? And um, so today, like weirdly enough, I want to start off with what we're not watching. So last Sunday, I was, and I'm sure I've been on a Scrubs marathon, so I was opened up my television and the smart TV, it gives you here's like all the things to watch, and on it was it's just like watch the Golden Globes live, and I'm sitting there looking like it's like, oh yeah, that's around that time of year, right? Right? Okay. No. I'm gonna watch my old comfort TV instead, which basically says where we're at in regards for awards shows. Is that they're not they just nobody, everybody's got better things to do. We got better things to do. We got older, better television to watch. But that just got me thinking about it, award shows in general, because the Oscars used to be my Super Bowl. And I think at the end of the day, human beings like competition. That's why, I know nothing about any of the sports balls. I mean, I know in basketball, the puck needs to go into the end zone. Like that is what I know about sports ball. But it's just like there's a fundamental thing where just like we want to, like, we like the competition. We want to know who's the best. Like what was the best picture, best actor, blah 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 blah. We crave that. Unfortunately, when it comes to art, there's oftentimes not. You'll have rare instances where you'll have something that's objectively awful, like it's like Alien versus Predator 2, objectively badly done movie. And then you've got Lawrence of Arabia, which apparently the head of Netflix, his kid watches on his phone. So fuck that guy. Um, that's I mean, joke, but if you're watching Lawrence of Arabia on your phone, you're an idiot. Like that was like mwah, filmmaking. Um, and this is sidebar. One of the best things that I ever did, and if you can, wherever you live, if there is a point where you can see Lawrence of Arabia on a big screen, that is the way to see that film. It is spectacular, huge. When I was in, it was just like a couple of years before I left Los Angeles. I saw it in 70 millimeter at the Egyptian, um, and just beautiful. But that is a tangent. But like ultimately, the point being is like there are stuff that's objectively awful, and stuff that's, you can't, even if it's not your thing, you can't argue that it's great. Most things are in the middle, so art is hard to quantify. So even as much as I like to consider the Oscars my Super Bowl, um yeah, it's like you can't I don't know that you can quantify. There is no quantifiable best of in regards to film. If it's like if I know enough about football that if it makes it into the end zone, you get the points, and there it is. It's very clear cut and dry. Um, Art is not like that, but you can, even if you're of an artistic, even if art is, even if you're more of the art guy than the sports guy, there is the human thing of we want competition, hence awards shows. But the problem with award shows and is that they're not really about loving the product anymore. It's not about loving film. It's about grandstanding. And from my argument today is that I don't think it's mentally healthy for either, if you're I whether you're conservative or liberal. I don't think it's mentally healthy to watch these things because they are a tool for grandstanding. And the title for this live stream is the title for this live stream. It's like I'm ragging on Mark Ruffalo just because, like, he's one of the most easy, people to point out, where just like whenever a camera gets on him, it's some outrage of the day. And it's like, you need to know what I think about X issue. Burr, 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 burr. And that's all these shows are. That's all they are anymore. Like, we know when the Oscars come around, it's going to be, we're going to be commenting on it is rich entitled celebrities commenting on the news. And depending on which side of the aisle you are, you're going to get angry. Like, it's going to be anger either way. And I specify that there is no decision I have ever made in life that, in anger or desperation, that's been a good decision. And as as I see it, you either a you're liberal and you agree with Mark Ruffalo, and you you agree with him on everything, and it's just like, oh yeah, like, it's just like, I am liberal, and it's like everything he says is right. It's not two-dimensional. It's or lacking in context. And I'm gonna like I'm just, like, it's like my conservative neighbor or family member that's like, they're pieces of shit. It's just like, it's rage. It's rage. And then if you're a conservative, you're looking, it's like, Mark Ruffalo, that fucking tool, man, he's a fucking tool, like that liberal Hollywood. We're all ripping our hairs out and bald, and we got to call hymns to put hair back in, and it's just like we're pulling our hair out, and we're just angry, and it's not good for us. It's not good for us. And this is like week 3. I'm trying to be consistent. This is week 3 of live streaming. And, yeah, where was I going? Yeah. Where was I going? I was looking at this turtle. That's a sexy turtle. Anger is not good for you. One of my goals for this year is Zen. It's, since the pandemic, there's been a lot of anger. I know I've been operating via a lot of anger over the last 5 years, and I don't want it anymore. And anything that's going to bring you anger, I think you should avoid. Like, so there was a debate. I have it in my head, like, am I going to watch the Oscars or am I not? And it's like, I know somebody is going to say something that's going to piss me off. So why include that? Why include that into my sphere? And if you're liberal, why watch this? where it's like that same thing that's probably going to piss me off, that that I'm looking at it probably from a two-dimensional world. You're probably looking at it from a two-dimensional world and agreeing with and getting angry about some other thing, and now you're angry and you're hating your neighbor or your family or your friend. And so what it like what good is it? It's like it's much better, a better thing to do, what would be a better use of your time than watch if you love movies, then watching the Oscars, watching award shows. Run next door, get your friend, get find your friend. Doesn't matter, who they are, what they look like. Get the like go to a movie. We're at mind you, we're in it's the January doldrums and there's not a ton of stuff to go see, but there are still movies in theaters and theaters need your attendance. Go to a movie theater, support your local movie theater. You know, that's really what entertainment is about, is um what entertainment is about is getting together with your friends and loved ones and enjoying a story, enjoying characters. That's what it's supposed to be. Um, that's why, at least that's why I fell in love with the medium. Um, so go do that rather than watch rich entitled people dole out trophies when they clearly it's not where it's not about it's really not about the movies anymore. And like one of the things there's and this is something that conservatives harp on that I don't entirely agree with full scale. There's the idea that just like, oh, they don't nominate stuff that people like. And like one of the things, the at least concepts around, say, the Oscars that I like, is the idea that smaller budget, smaller budget independent films, like that medium can shine a light. It can shine a light on smaller films that the average person who's just day to day, we're going to work. It's like you go to work, you do your day, you come back, you want to forget about life for a while. They might not know about some of these smaller films, and that is like, but I mean, they do know the Oscars, so it's like, oh, this like X, Y, and Z won Best Picture, or so and so won Best Actor, or so it can be a way to um, shed light on smaller films that don't have the opportunity that big studio films have. So like that's like I like that goal as an idea. The problem is it's not the quality of the movie. Like, it used to be. I feel like it used to be that those movies, um, they used to be great. It's like great for this is a great little independent film. You should go watch this, and because it's a good story with good characters. And now it's very very issue based. And I think both going into the Oscars this year, last year, I mean the movie last year that like you could say where it's like that's not what they don't care about story anymore, was Amelia Perez, where it was very clearly that movie took me I had to chunk through it over the course of 3 days, because like we said earlier, some movies are just objectively poorly made. Like that, it's like that movie wasn't good. Like it was there's no aspect of it that worked on a practical level, but it got nominated more times than The Godfather because it was about an issue. And so clearly the issue was more important than, is this something that's forwarding the art? And we're not exactly there this year. We're waiting on the Oscar nominations. I'm sure those are going to be out in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure like One Battle After Another is going to get a ton of nominations. And the problem with the precedent set over the last at least 10 years, probably a little bit more, um is that we know, like, if it wins, it's not like we have it in our minds that it's going to win because of the politics, not because of the. And it's like I can't argue that it's because it's great, because it is not. In fact, I disagree with the politics of that film vehemently. I don't think it's not a badly made film, but we're all like, your average Joe is looking at what that film is, and they're assuming that it won because of the politics, not because it's any good. Whereas you go back, oh, good lord, we're going into 2020, 2027, 17, 2007. Good lord, Titanic is on. I'm old. I eat prunes. Titanic is 30 years old, and it's like or at least it's going on it. Yeah, it's like 1997, 2007, 17, 20. So yeah, Titanic is almost a 30-year-old movie. That's fucking wild. But it's like that movie. That's a movie that everybody gathered around and liked, and it's just like it defined 1997 as a year, cinematically speaking. So it's like you could like, it's your best pictures, your awards films. Um, Everybody doesn't have to like them, but gosh darn it, everybody should be able to look at the film and see why, and understand why this won. And that's the problem. That's in terms of practically, that's the problem with award shows and the Oscars right now. And just from a mental health point of view, these award shows, as award shows, feel designed to make you angry, and we need less angry. I don't want to continue being angry, and because of that, it's like you either agree. It's like, again, one way or another, either you agree with Mark Ruffalo and you're angry about all of the things that are happening, or you disagree with Mark Ruffalo and he's full of shit and he's two-dimensional, blah 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 blah. It's like there's like it's he's labeling half the country and blah 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 blah, and you're walking away. Both of these, everyone is walking away angry. And if something is going to make you angry, I don't think it's worth your time. What's worth your time is going outside, going to a movie theater with a friend, volunteering, at a soup kitchen, at a pet shelter, anything but watching entitled rich celebrities pat themselves on the back is more worth your time. And if you really love it, seriously, if you really love movies, go to a movie theater. Go to a movie theater, because it's the best way to experience a film. It's the best way. And I suppose segue. I went to go see 28 Days Later, The Bone Temple, yesterday, and it wasn't like I need to like I go to films generally before, like, either like it's like 3 o'clock or earlier, because by the time 9:30 rolls around, my head needs to be on the pillow. So it wasn't like a crazy time where there was a ton of people, but it was like there were people in the theater, and it was like we experienced a film together, and a hardcore horror film. And that's where it's like it's good. It's the reviews on Bone Temple are, I think, maybe a little bit overblown, but it's a really solid horror film, and it's a solid follow up to 28 Years Later. The thing that 28 Years Later struggled with is that the whoever cut the trailer for the previous installment, just that is how you sell it. That is how you sell a movie. It is one of the most, I think, spectacular trailers that I've ever seen cut. Um, and the film didn't, 28 years later wasn't a bad film. It just did not live up to the quality that the trailer promised. It was just all around like, yeah, that was fine. And with Bone Temple, you can see that there's clearly a plan. There's clearly a plan here. It felt like a seamless continuation from where 28 years later left off. And it's a very nicely contained film. It's not overblown. It's really tight, spectacularly acted. I mean, Ralph Fiennes is just like you put him in anything, and you're gonna get whatever you get is gonna be great. And it's like we got a great introduction in the last film, and this film really gave him more time, and you can see the his depth as a character, and the fact that like how much he cares about people, and that it's just like he's seen the world go to hell, and he's still here. He's simultaneously honoring the dead, while simultaneously, how do I cure the living? And that's like that. Like just he's great. I loved it. And at the same time, you've got Jack O'Connell, who's this sort of nutball who, when the world went to hell, he was 8, and his father was like a hardcore religious guy. And this, once the world goes to hell, he does this whole 180 and becomes this crazy Satanist, and he's this brutal horror villain that's just terrorizing whoever normies are left. And it's that what it does very well, what the film does, I think, very well, is that yes, he's nuts, and at no point does it try to paint him as a misunderstood person, but it doesn't forget that that his crazy comes from somewhere. And particularly, there's a great scene, I would say about 2/3 into it, between him and Ralph Fiennes, where it's like you can see that it's just like, okay, it's like there's something in there, like somewhere in there there's a human, but when he was very, very young, something very, very horrible happened, and he just he went nuts. But it's like there's like not it's like he's got just enough of his faculties to try to puppeteer his cult of other crazy people. And again, it just works so seamlessly. It worked from the first one to the kid Spike. He's not the main he's not the main character, but we know what he's been through. And once he loops in again with Ralph Fiennes, like the history that these two characters have together, it all worked. Like the film would not work the same were it not for the first. As underwhelming as the first film is, this film would not work without it. There was a lot of character work that ports over to this movie, and it works. And I I'm not a big fan of over exposition, but one of the things I absolutely love about what Fiennes does with his character is expressing what's in his mind without saying words. And this is where this is, I will say, a spoilery territory. So yeah, just forewarned. um Jack O'Connell has brought his cult over to, like, they have this deal where, like, you took, Jack O'Connell is like, finds you, talk me up, and, like, then we're gone and we leave you alone. And they have this whole sort of like satanic ceremony here where essentially finds is pretending to be the devil just to get, and like he's hearing all of these horrible things that O'Connell is planning to do, and you can see his in his eyes that, like, holy shit, I can't just let this guy go. Like, that's like, this is like, I do that, and a lot of innocent people could be harmed. um and then, like, so he sort of migrates from that to that sort of realization in his eyes. It's just like, holy heck, this kid that I helped in the last movie, they've kidnapped him. I can't, I'm not gonna, it's like, I'm not gonna let them, I'm not gonna let them, just get away with him. And it's just a lot of great character stuff in just in his eyes. And it's really, really, and again, it's like, you want somebody who's, if you're looking for somebody who is just going to give you something spectacular acting wise, um he's one of the guys. And it's like, it's always the freaking British people, man. There's just something in their genes where they're really good at acting. Like, like Alan Rickman, Emma Thompson, you know really, really spectacular stuff. But it's worth, Bone Temple is worth your money if you like horror. Like, you have to like horror. It's a lot in terms of what you see gore wise. It's a lot more. It's much more brutal than the previous film was. Like, it's like, there were definitely, like, anyone who's watched Game of Thrones with me knows I'm very audible in my reactions to gore. It's one of the reasons I love horror. It's like, I do love it. Is for those, like, oh god, oh no, oh god, like, it's got those things going on for it. So if you are a horror fan, it's like, it's gonna be worth your time. And a lot of props to, again, it's like, I don't know who this actor is, but the actor who plays Samson does, and it's just like, from just a plain, like, it's like, big actor with a giant dick who's naked the entire movie. I don't know how that audition went. Just like, okay, it's like, you're the right height, now strip down and helicopter your wiener in front of us, and we'll tell you whether you got the part. But he does deliver. The physicality is a big, like, that's a big part of the film. And he's obviously, it's like, he's big, he's muscular, and he sells that. But also, the other thing he does really well, when it's, and again, it's like, I don't want to get into spoiler territory here a lot, but it's the part that he's playing, it's required to be a little bit more subtle and have a little bit more nuance. And this actor absolutely delivered. And I really, really can't wait to see how they finish it out, because it's clear there's a plan. It's nice to go into a film that, like, this is clearly the second in a trilogy, and the producers behind it, the writers, they have a plan for where this is going. And it respects what came before. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where they end up with it. I would say my big complaints are, there's one instance at the end where it's like, okay, you threw in a jump scare where you didn't need a jump scare. That was a little silly. And then there's a little bit of a like heavy-handed knock on like you know what's happening in the news? See, we referenced the thing. So that I could have done without, but on the whole, like really good. And if you like heavy metal, man, like you definitely, I know a couple of heavy metal fans that are gonna love this movie whenever they get around to see it. So get around to it. In terms of other things that like what am I watching this week? I started Trek Tuesday on Tuesday. I'm going back. So Star Trek Starfleet Academy has just hit, and it looks awful. It looks like modern garbage, and it's like if you look at the poster, it's like Dawson's Creek in the Star Trek universe, and it's like, have you ever watched this show? And I really kind of wanted to go all the way back to the beginning and start and experience Star Trek from the start and go back to what was the first aired. And this is the stipulation for Trek Tuesday, is that I started with the first officially aired episode, is what people saw. Of course, there was the pilot, and then there was the second pilot, and then the edited down second pilot, and the second pilot ended up being episode 3. But we're going with air date order. So I went all the way back, and it's like, and this is not a knock on the original series. This is a knock on me. When I watched it through years ago, long time ago, to make another sci-fi reference, a long time. And I wasn't like, I'm a next generation kid. I grew up on Picard. I grew up on the Next Generation. The 1960s, the pacing, really, like the TNG pacing was probably about perfect for what the pace. Modern pacing is way too fast. TNG was like the right amount. 60s required you be a little bit more patient with it. You had to, it's just a little slower. And I think when I watched it the first time, I wasn't ready for that, and I judged it on that. And I didn't dislike it, but I was just like, yeah, this is boring. TNG is better. And now that I'm older, it's just like, God damn. And maybe it's because stuff is so damn fast now, but it's like this is great right off the bat. And there's a couple of things that I would say struck me in the first 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes, you had the man trap, which is they go down to a planet, salt monster disguising itself as people, namely Dr. McCoy, one of Dr. McCoy's ex-flames. And then episode 2 was Charlie X, which is wayward young man with powers. But there was never it doesn't have a big grandiose, we're introducing all of the characters, like here is Kirk, and we're making a big deal out of everything. It's literally just like here's an adventure. And it's so well done that like you go into the man trap, and it doesn't, I don't think you need to know anything about Star Trek, and you get who these characters are immediately. And what I would say like really what hit me again, it's like I grew up on TNG, and I was a Picard guy. So like Kirk, and I think Kirk gets sort of joked on a lot because Shatner, like, we're going to talk like this, and this is how Kirk was, and we're going to use this as a big joke. And that's not really the character. What 2 episodes in, I think both Kirk and Picard do two very different things. I think Kirk is the buddy that you want, like great at his job. Kirk is your friend, Picard is more your paternal father figure. They're both separately good. They're good at the command. They're good. They're the actual job of commanding the ship. They're good at. It's just in personality. Kirk is your buddy. Picard is your father. And I do think, like, and again, this could be nostalgia. I still lean Picard, but also, like, I mean, Kirk takes his job. Like, again, I think it's a lot of people treat him really with, it's very jokey, but he does take his job seriously. And so you've got the man trap. They've come back up and they've got a crew member dead, and Dr. McCoy is, it's like he's like, just like he's, talking. It's like, oh, so and so, my old flame, and Kirk very much is like lays down. Like we've seen them be friends. We have seen them be friends at this point. They're very, very chummy when shit's not going down. But when shit goes down, Kirk does not have a problem smacking his friends around and saying, "Doctor, like, one of our crew members is dead. Get your head in the game and do your job. We need to find out what's going on, like, right now." And I don't know that I so much appreciated that the first time around that I watched the show. And again, just intelligently, there's modern Star Trek lectures you on how to think. Original Star Trek encouraged you to think. And one thing, both of these two, both Mantrap and Charlie X, both of them, I think they have this very, very interesting thing where the antagonists in either episode they're not up straight up evil, snidely whiplash. They're not straight up evil, snidely whiplash villains. Both of them have valid, simply valid. They have reason. There is logical reasons for doing what they're doing, whether it's the salt monster in the Man Trap, where I'm the last of my kind, and like, I just need to survive, and I don't have salt on planet. People show up, like, I'm gonna steal their salt. Or Charlie and Charlie X, and it's an interesting, where, again, going back to the Globes, where I have not watched Adolescence yet, so I can't comment on it, but Charlie X is doing a, like, what do we do with wayward young men type thing, but it's doing it in a way that I think is real. And whereas it doesn't villainize, like, he's not villainized for being a dude. And a big chunk of that episode is he looks up to Kirk because Kirk is an all-around solid dude who can put his foot down when it's needed. Like, when we first meet Charlie, they get in the transporter. Kirk is having a conversation with the other crew. Charlie's trying to interrupt, and Kirk very swiftly says, like, "No, Charlie, like, the adults are having, we don't interrupt. The adults are having a conversation." And it's that strong male presence. He is a strong male presence. But it's like the interesting thing on this watch is that Kirk has all of the elements that you would, in looking for a mentor. Kirk has all of the things, but he doesn't really know how to use them. And by the end of the episode, he loses to a degree. He loses to a degree. He saves the ship because, again, Charlie has a tantrum, and Kirk figures out how to basically overextend Charlie's powers and sort of, like, bring him back down. But then the alien race that gave Charlie his powers show up, and they just cart him off. They're like, they write him off, cart him off, and just like, he's got these powers. He's never gonna be any better, and we're taking him away. And it's kind of a heartbreaking scene. And part of being a good man is empathy, and Kirk shows open empathy in that moment at the end, where it's just like, is there nothing you can do? And there's this clear melancholy at the end where, just alien race gonna just do what it wants, and they do. But the other thing is, he's got the materials to be a role model. He doesn't know how to use them. And it's like almost like Charlie is it's an annoyance. It's getting in the way of what Kirk considers his job. And it's in its own way, and again, getting to encouraging you to think rather than lecturing you how to think, what you should think. It's like Kirk, even older guys have to learn how to be good mentors. Like, Kirk is not at the start, he is not perfect. And it's a good, it's just in the context of where we're at in 2025. It's like, this is still, like, this was a episode that came out in 1966, and it still has valuable things to say in 2025. And it's like, I'm looking forward to revisiting all of these. This was an episode that I used to make fun of, and I kind of don't anymore. And from a practical standpoint, 2 episodes in, we haven't met Scotty yet. Obviously, Chekhov, you don't get Chekhov until season 2, so it's going to be a while before he comes in. But they knew right off the bat that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy were like, that is the trio that is the core, that is the core of this series, and with each different facets. And really, how I look at life is that, if just, like, as a guy, and this is maybe more of a guy conversation, but maybe there's a girl equivalent. I think every guy needs to have his, like, Spock and McCoy are different worldviews to Kirk, and every guy should have a Spock and McCoy. Like, if we're looking at it politically, you should have a best friend who is a liberal. You should have a best friend who's a conservative. You need those 2 guys who will challenge you and challenge each other. And that's the first episode. The man trap ends with, your salt monster is gonna, like, kill Captain Kirk, and it boils down, what McCoy is seeing is his ex-flame, and he needs Spock to say, like, to sort of snap him into, it's like, doctor, do you really think your old girlfriend would be doing this? Like, you need to snap out of it. And which he does. So that dynamic was there from the beginning. So they knew those 3. They knew Uhura, which that Uhura is like, whereas in 2025 we do SJW messaging just transparently and beat you over the head. Star Trek did it like it was a big deal to have a Black woman on the bridge of the Enterprise, but it's not made a big deal of it in the show. She's just there. She's there. She's professional. Everyone clearly respects her, and she's good at her job. And then Nichelle Nichols just rocks the character. So she was, you had her from the beginning. And I would say in the first episode, she really helps sort of establish Spock at the start. This is one of the things, there's so much you can do with acting that's without words or without explicitly saying what's going on. And Leonard Nimoy absolutely does that, because you've got Uhura razzing him about like the away party is beamed up. They've lost a man, and she's razzing him for not having, for not being more just broken up. And you can tell in Leonard Nimoy's performance that it's like, no, no, yes, he is, but now is not the time. And I am not going to, we're in the middle of it right now. This is for later. And it's like a couple of seconds, and Nimoy just crushes it. I think Sulu's the only other one we've met, and I'm curious as to how much of his the fact that he is part of the main crew is just George Takei's sheer charisma. Because there's a lot of extras in there, but he was particularly good in that first episode, and they just hadn't. And every Star Trek series after has sort of followed suit. It's that core crew, that core group of friends that's that's always there for each other, and that's like I one of the things that makes Star Trek work, and at least where I'm at, I'm gonna, I think, do 2 a week. That's the goal, at least. It's one of the things that makes Star Trek, and it's not, no show is what it is from the very beginning. But it gets there, and it's fun to go back and watch it develop. And 2 in, Mantrap and Charlie X, 2 solid episodes. I'm looking forward to the next. The next one is Where No Man Has Gone Before, and that's the second version of the pilot. Which it's been a long time. I vaguely remember it. It's going to be fun to go back and revisit, and it's nice to be watching a show that doesn't, where just like each episode is a one-off. Like it's like you're not following Game of Thrones, where it has to be week to week. It's just, we're going on an adventure for a week. And you just sometimes you just got to go on an adventure for a week, and without, it's we all have jobs, we're living our lives, and sometimes you just want to get away for an hour at the end of the day. And I think television used to do that in a little bit of I think television filled that void in a little bit more effectively back in the day, as they said. But 2 episodes in, original Trek is awesome. Go watch it. Other that we've talked about, the Bone Temple. We've talked about Star Trek. I was in a mood last night, and I watched Sweeney Todd. Good movie. It is. I love musicals. I'm not what you would say a Stephen Sondheim expert. I just know that like his music is not necessarily my favorite, but I mean, it's Sweeney Todd is it's desaturated and Burton-y in the best way. I like it a lot. But there's a little bit too much computer bullshit in it. That's my big complaint. Computer bullshit. And Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, they're not bad singers. They're just not, clearly singing's not their profession, and you can tell. So that was last week, and then I just finished Scrubs. I'm preparing for the revival. And man, you can tell season 8 was supposed to be it. I just started season 9. It's just like, oh boy, it's like you get through the emotional sort of wrap up that is season 8, and it feels like, okay, I'm ready to put this down. Oh wait, but Hulu says there's one more. So I guess OCD dictates I must keep going. and I'm one episode into season 9, and it's like, oh God, no, why? It's like you did the story. Why God, why? And I think what you can learn from that, season 8 to season 9 with Scrubs is that if you have a plan, commit to the plan, and if the studio wants more, then it's like, well, this is the story. We don't need to do more. Because if you try to if you try to force it, you can really end up with a turd. And I can tell I've got a turd of a season that I'm gonna have to slug through. I'm gonna have to slug through over the next realistically it'll be a couple of weeks. But my assessment of the real Scrub season 1 through 8, it is a delightful show. It does a brilliant job of balancing goofball comedy and actual human moments. And it navigates them just brilliantly. Of course, if you're not, like, you have to be down for the goofball humor. If you're not down for the specific type of comedy that show is, it's going to drive you nuts. But if you're okay with being a goof, it's a great show. I'm really sad that I'm done with it. I gotta find some other after work show to fill the void for the time being. But in any case, I think that's about it. What do I have in my notes? I have not. I was planning on watching The Rip on Friday, and then I went to bed at like 9. So that didn't happen. I would say, like, the one last thing, I'm not going to spend a ton of time of it. Amazon dropped the first pictures of Sophie Turner as Lara Croft. I'm not a hardcore gamer, but like, if you played any games at all in the mid to late 90s, like, who Lara Croft in Tomb Raider is. And I guess, like, she looks like she committed to the fitness, man. Like, I have a ton of doubts because since Phoebe Waller-Bridge is show running the thing, she does, based on everything I've seen her in, she does seem to hate the core demographic, which is men. So I have questions, but it does seem like Sophie Turner is committed to being as athletic as Lara Croft needs to be. And whenever an actor commits to, it's not like she already looked good, but now it's like, oh hell, now you look like you looked good, and now you look like you can kick ass. Like, fitness, it takes an awful lot of commitment. And I respect her for getting in that kind of shape. And I hope it's good. Like, it's like one of those, I'm looking at, I hope it's good. There is never a point where I don't want entertainment to be bad. Like, that is not a thing that I want. I want it to be good. It's just, unfortunately, right now we've got a glut of nonsense. But keep an eye on it, and hopefully I'm looking forward to a trailer. I don't know if it's started being shot, but I hope it's good, and good for her for getting into Lara Croft shape. In any case, I am going to. It's been an hour, so I'm going to sign myself off. Everybody have an excellent week, and I will see you next time.